Hey, salute to everybody who's joining me today. Just wanted to come in and say happy holiday, Merry Christmas to those who celebrate. Peace and blessings to you all. And I wanted to give a special thank you to all of those people that have joined the channel and that have supported the channel. You know, it's my pleasure to be able to bring content to you on a weekly basis, especially when we're dealing with content concerning men. And like I've said before, this is mostly a male advisory channel. And my goal is basically for men to get better experiences and better outcome in the current environment that we currently exist in. So we talk a lot about men's mental health, men's self-development, relationships as it relates to men. And those things are critical and important. So Merry Christmas to you, gentlemen. Many blessings for you during the holiday seasons, to you and your family. And of course, I wish everybody a wonderful, New Year, because that's coming up pretty soon. And so basically, I just came into chat this morning, have a conversation with the channel members of the channel, talk about upcoming goals, plans, travel, and things that you want to achieve for yourself individually as a man. And those things are critical to your overall survival. I know a lot of things that are going on now, especially in YouTube travel space. I've seen some of the issues, especially with the brother in Brazil. And I see my brother, Coach the Clinician, did a live stream about that the other day. And, obviously some individuals make bad and poor decisions when they go overseas, but ultimately that's an individual issue, an individual problem. And what I don't do is, like, for instance, if I see certain types of content that try to categorize men in a certain collective, I won't use my channel to spread it. If I see like content and it comes off like trying to collectively cast the brothers in a negative light, I won't even put it on the channel. And I'll tell you one of the reasons why I won't put it on the channel. Let me give you an example, right? Oh, yeah. Let me see. So let me give you an example of one of the reasons why I don't play some of that content, okay?
See, real.
So, a lot of the men are traveling to Thailand and they are out there, doing their thing, right? They messing with women, whatever. Well, you got this black woman that decides to go to Thailand, and I don't know why some of these women are showing up in these places where these men are going, but let's go ahead and check that out.
Let me tell y'all, I be seeing my brothers out here getting themselves some of these Thai girls, honey. Well, they all out here getting the Thai girls. But you can tell it's lopsided. And what I mean by lopsided, you can tell those girls be too pretty for the men that they be with. Black or white. I be looking like, girl, what you going on? But I get it though, But you do see beautiful couples here too. But I be looking like y'all came all the way out here to get yourself a Thai girl, which is fine because the Thai girls are beautiful. But it just be looking so weird because some of these girls be so beautiful and the guys be like monsters. Like they be looking like straight Fat Albert and Freddy Krueger mixed together, and they be having this supermodel looking Thai girl. I'd be like, girl, ain't that much money in the world. But maybe it is. Maybe it's true love. I ain't here to judge. You know, and if it wasn't true love, maybe it developed into true love. They say you learn to love people. Maybe some of the American men come out here and treat these women good, but it ain't even just Americans. The white guys, there's Australians, Russians, people from Singapore, you know, Canadians. They all be having their side girls. All love them. When the brothers see me, they be looking at me like I'm gonna judge them. Like, I'd be like, I see you, brother. Do your thing. Tell you something. You gonna miss us. Okay? If you used to date black women and you stopped dating black women, there's a bunch of beautiful women out there with beautiful personalities. But if you stop dating us, when you see us, when they see us, you gonna miss us.
Ma'am, when these men go to Thailand, they're not going.
What you know what's so interesting about it, right? With this whole conversation. So she's saying that she's not judging, but she's calling these men ugly and all kinds of names, right? So let me explain something to you, first of all. I've been seeing, especially on social media lately, a lot of people are moving to places like Thailand. Some for legitimate reasons, cost of living, inflation, better quality of life. But then there's some women that try to follow the men on this tit for tat. If y'all can do it, I can do it too. So her conversation that she's having right now is an example of the type of woman that just goes to a place like Pattaya, Thailand, only for the purpose of spying on, harassing, and disrespecting many of the men that are over 8,000 miles away from America, which is crazy because you think about it in terms of, if you cannot make it in America in a gynocentric environment where they literally discriminate against the men, press them down to uplift women, where it's infested with simps, panderers, female apologists. If you can't make it in the black community in America as a black woman, where the men basically accept the standards of mediocrity in a matriarchal culture. Imagine that. You come from a matriarchal culture where the men have been beaten down with their self-esteem, that they will take any women, bad attitude, fat women, some of the men, not all of them. It's getting better now since the brothers like Kevin Samuels and all the brothers have come out and try and help build their self-esteem back up, because it's constructed for the men to take less in that community, and it's a government-empowered matriarchy, right? So imagine you can't make it where the men have basically been, beaten down with their self-esteem, and you go all the way on the other side of the world to talk about, oh, these guys look like this and they're walking with these beautiful Thai ladies. That ideology, that mindset, not understanding that the rest of the world don't think like women. Like, she overvalues herself. The audacity. Like, the guys are just living in peace, minding their own business, right? Chilling. And imagine she pulls up and she's having these types of conversation, right? All the way to Thailand with this type of hatred.
So, a lot of the men are traveling to Thailand and they are out there, doing their thing, right? They messing with women, whatever. Well, you got this black woman that decides to go to Thailand, and I don't know why some of these women are showing up in these places where these men are going, but let's go ahead and check that out.
Let me tell y'all, I be seeing my brothers out here getting themselves some of these Thai girls, honey. Well, they all out here getting the Thai girls. But You could tell it's lopsided. And what I mean by lopsided, you could tell those girls be too pretty for the men that they be with. Black or white. I be looking like, girl, what you doing on? But I get it though, you know. But you do see beautiful couples here too. But I be looking like y'all came all the way out here to get yourself a Thai girl, which is fine because the Thai girls are beautiful. But it just be looking so weird because some of these girls be so beautiful and the guys be like monsters. like they be looking like straight Fat Albert and Freddy Krueger mixed together, and they be having this supermodel looking Thai girl. I'd be like, girl, ain't that much money in the world. But maybe it is. Maybe it's true love. I ain't here to judge. You know, and if it wasn't true love, maybe it developed into true love. They say you learn to love people. Maybe some of the American men come out here and treat these women good, but it ain't even just Americans. The white guys, there's Australians, Russians, people from Singapore, you know, Canadians. They all be having their side girls.
You know what's happening to her, right? She's experiencing a culture shock. A culture shock. So I think she went out there or went down there to Pattaya to see it herself. Because in her mind, she's been propped up in Western culture to overvalue herself. And when she really sees the value of men and what men can achieve, she realized that her sexual market value is extremely low on a global sense. It's really a shock. She's going through a state of like almost PTSD. She's realizing that she has very little value in the dating and relationship space for men. And men have tremendous options. So the shock itself is overwhelming to her because she lives in a culture that lies to her. So because she's from a culture that lies to her, that props women up and pushes men down, when it's like her eyes is like, she can't believe it. Look at that guy. He's over there. He has a big belly. What she doesn't realize is that guy has been working all of his life. And men's value is in their ability to be resourceful, providers and protectors. I mean, we're not supposed to be winning the beauty contest. So it's a shock to her. It's a shock to her. It's a shock to her system. It's a wake-up call because we're dealing with social media. You're dealing with boosting. You know, it just, she can't handle it. And that's what we're dealing. Oh, no, man. Thai man. Any man. Like he said, Thai man. Gentlemen, please hit the like button for authority. Pound the like button and shit. It ain't just Thai men. I mean, like, you know, I've been to Pattaya, Thailand. And I mean, they have the African sisters down there on Walking Street. There's a bar that has the African sisters down there on Walking Street in Thailand. The problem is, like, other than for some type of, like, you know, experience, like maybe the Asian men, the Indian men, or some of the other brothers from the other culture, you know, they might want to experience, like physically experience her, but they don't want to be with her because, again, if they really wanted to be with a Black woman, they would just go get them an African woman from like Kenya or one of the other African countries, Uganda or whatever else. They wouldn't go with a Black American woman. So if they were going for a Black woman, they'd go for the Black African or Black South American woman. They wouldn't go for a Black African American woman because of the reputation of being disrespectful and unruly. So they see that they like, they think Black American women are disrespectful and unruly. it's a sad thing, but it's just the reality of it. So they'll go for something out of Africa or South America. You know, you got the Afro-Brazilians, Afro-Colombians, and other women of different culture. It's the culture that they try to avoid. It's not the women, because again, it's a culture. Culture shapes who we are. So okay, why would you go for a matriarchal, dominant hyena female? You're not going to go for a matriarchal, dominant hyena female when you can get a more patriarchal raised female from some part. Even Africa has this issue with feminism now, but other parts of the world that are more so willing to offer value, because we talk about how relationships are viewed in the Black community in America, which is basically a matriarchy. And America is basically a gynocentric environment where they see men only from a position of servitude. So outside of recreational use, she's in Pattaya, Thailand, and they already have all the African women down there on Walking Street, at the bar down Walking Street. So they got African women there. They got African women up in Bangkok, on Sukhumvit, whatever. I'm not going to say these places, but Nana Plaza and all these places, they have African women. So between the Thai women, women from other cultures, Russian women, women from Eastern Europe and everywhere else down there in Pattaya, she's having a shock because she realized that how little she's valued. And the brothers is just like, what are you doing here? I mean, you come from a matriarchal kingdom. If you can't win in a matriarchy in America, where else can you? I don't understand even why women would want to go there. I mean, I'm not talking about the sisters that are going there for business or better quality of life. What's in Pattaya, Thailand for a Black American woman? I mean, they do have some, I mean, you got Koh Lanta Island, you've got, what's there? I don't see what's there. Why would you leave an environment as a single woman that's heavily stacked in your favor, where there's the competition because of feminism and because of government empowerment? Because of feminism and government empowerment, your value has been boosted in America. You're going to leave an environment where you're advantaged to go to an environment like Thailand, where you have to compete with more feminine, more beautiful, more cooperative women. That don't make any sense. Or you go to Africa, you leave America and you go to Africa and you have to compete with those African women as a single woman, you're going to get cooked. You can't compete over there. And that's the problem, you know what I mean? Like you can't compete with those women. You're going to end up in a situation where you're going to get, smoked. So anyhow, let me let this play out. Salute to my man, Philip Scott, for this video. We'll let it finish out.
Well, when the brothers see me, they be looking at me like I'm a judge them. Like, I'd be like, I see you, brother. Do your thing. Tell you something. You're going to miss us. Okay? If you used to date Black women and you stopped dating Black women, there's a bunch of beautiful women out there with beautiful personalities. But if you stop dating us, when you see us, when they see us.
See, that's another fallacy. Nobody stopped dating Black women. Men stopped dating feminists and hyenas. Men have never stopped dating. Men have never stopped dating Black women. The 10% Black women that bring value to the table get snatched up quick. Men stop dating ball-busting feminists and women that offer no value. Because I see the brothers in Africa, I see the brothers in Nairobi, Kenya, I see the brothers in South America. They date Black women. And even from a perspective of even Thailand, most of these dudes like the darker skinned Isan women. The ones that are darker skinned from Isan, the brothers go after them quick, especially if they got a little bump on them. So it is not even about Black women. It's about a certain percentage of African American Black women. It's the culture of the woman, not the skin color of the woman. Because if you put men around feminine women, feminine black women that are not from matriarchal culture, they're going to pick, again, I always talk about relationship capitalism. Men are going to pick the best women that offer the best value. It's competitive out here. So it's not a black women thing. It's are you a feminine, cooperative, submissive woman that's going to add value to a man's life? Because the women in Africa have no problem being picked. They're just competitive. They offer value to a man's life. If they're feminine, if they're cooperative. So we're conflating cultural norms, which is matriarchal culture in the black community in America. So properly raised, well-raised black American women that are feminine, that are cooperative, that add value to a man's life, they have no problem finding men in this culture. They get snatched up quickly. It's the hyenas that get abandoned and kicked to the curb. And if you've taken on the mentality of liberal-minded feminist women, whether it doesn't matter what race you are, you go into the category. They all go into one box called insufferable. So if you're not the quality of woman that men desire for long-term relationships, you go into the box of insufferable. It doesn't matter what race you are. If a woman in Thailand is a feminist, she goes into the same box of insufferable. So your problem is you have a radical feminist ideology and you're insufferable to any man with self-esteem. And that's what she's not realizing. It's not about race. You're just not a competitive woman on the dating and relationship market. Recreational use, which is what's going to happen to her in a place like Thailand, is that all the people from other cultures are going to come in there and she's going to get pounded out. As we saw with the other chick who got impregnated by some guy over in Thailand, she thought she can come over there and she was going to get better. But you can't get better in the matriarchy. Where else can you get better? I mean, I don't understand how low the standards can get, how much lower the standards can get in America for women to be successful here. I mean, like I said, I have no idea why a woman would leave a gynocentric environment to go to a foreign country when everything is stacked in their favor here, unless she's going there for a lower cost of living. Especially the couples that I've seen that have moved to Bangkok and many of these places, because ideologically, those environments themselves are the Serengeti. I mean, I'm sorry, it's the Serengeti over there. It's competitive. It's financially, if you don't have your stuff together, you're not squared away. You're not going to make it over there. So she's over there casting shades on the brothers because it bothers her that they're living life on their own terms. Let's continue on. Let's see what Philip has to say.
You want to miss us.
Ma'am, when these men go to Thailand, they're not going to Thailand looking for black women, just to be honest with you. Clearly, they're going to Thailand to look for Thai women, if that's what they're over there to do. If they wanted to go overseas looking for black women, then there's plenty of countries they could have went to. They could have went to the Caribbean. Plenty of black women are there. The continent of Africa, plenty of black women are there, right? And they do have some African women that live in Thailand, but those guys aren't going to see those women. They're going to see Thai women. Bottom line. Now, you said that they say, oh, they don't date.
It is, again, people keep adding a race and a race to this thing. They're traveling and going to environments to be around non-feminist women. Women that are not wear feminism as a badge. Race doesn't matter. If you are a liberal-minded feminist, you're insufferable. No matter what vessel you're driving, no matter what cultural vessel you're driving, if you're Asian, if you're white, black, purple, green, it doesn't matter what culture you're from. If you are a ball-busting feminist, you're insufferable. That's period. That's just the way it is. So it's not about Thai women. If the Thai women became overwhelmingly feminist, the men wouldn't go there. Look what's happened in South Korea. South Korea has a really bad feminist problem. The men in South Korea have completely checked out. So it is not about men preferring a certain race of women, men preferring a certain behavior in women. So if the women behaved a certain way or brought certain value to the table, that's where the men would go. So it's not a Thailand or Thai women or white women or black women. You know, A Peaceful Life talks about performance. Performance is love to me. You know, if it don't perform, it ain't. What am I going to do? Like I said, the badge of this channel is relationship capitalism. Period. I don't want no loads around me. I don't care what vessel that woman's driving. I don't care what culture she's from, or what race she's from. If she's a load is a load. And what can you do with a load? It's just going to run up your bills and drive up your stress level and your cortisol. She's not producing. The woman is not adding value to your life. She's not performing. So Thai, African American, African from Africa, China, I don't care where she's from. If she's not performing, she's a load. That's just the way how men's got to look at it going forward if you want to live a good life. You know, race, culture don't matter. There's a certain ideology you have to identify right away. You can tell. She's talking that women's empowerment stuff and talking about what she ain't going to do and you already know you got yourself a ball-busting feminist. So what is the point of proceeding with anything other than recreational use is my thing. So we got to get rid of this cultural thing and look at a certain mindset and mentality and ideology is what guys got to start looking at. Because if you travel around the world, you're going to see ball-busting feminists in all different cultures. Maybe not as prevalent as it is in the West because they're not empowered by the government. But when you identify that ideology and that mindset, you know right away you're going to be in a situation where this woman sees the world one-sided because feminism is all about advantage. It's not about equality or equity. It's just about, I want to be treated. I want the best of both worlds. I want all the benefits of the 1950s. And whenever shit hit the fan, basically, and I want all the privileges of today. And when things go bad, hold on a second. That's my brother texting me. You know, so that's really what it comes down to. So if you were to travel from here right now and go to Africa or China, and they have feminists, radical feminists there. If you identify a certain mindset based upon your experience in Western culture, you know how to operate and move. So that's what it really comes down to. And she keeps using this race thing. Race has nothing to do with it, especially in 2025 and beyond. It's either you're a liberal-minded, ball-busting feminist or you're not. Which one is it? There's no in between. You know, pick your lane. So this race thing is ridiculous. Like beating a dead horse.
Hate us but they see us, they miss us. And if they missed you, they'll go holler at you. That's just the way that work. Like, why are you in Thailand peeping what those men are doing? Shouldn't you be in Thailand enjoying yourself, eating the food, going to, shows, taking in the beach, the sights, the whatever the case may be? Why are you there worrying about the men and what they got going on? Did you follow them over there to watch? Because, I remember when, the passport bro thing is being talked about a lot. And, some of the women were saying, yeah, we need to go see what they're actually doing over there in these countries. So they start doing it. They start going to Colombia where they was going. They start going to Brazil. They start going to Thailand. They start going to the Philippines and making videos about what they saw them doing. I'm like, well, why would you follow those men? Because what they were saying is basically, you didn't want these men. So they said, well, maybe they want us over there. And I'm pretty sure the women, women in general want resources, whether they Thai, American, whatever. You just get a more of a return on investment overseas versus here. That's really what that is. It's just like here in America. If a guy got money, he can look butt ugly. It don't matter. And he can have the best looking woman out here in America. If he got money, it's just bottom line. Prime example. Look at a lot of the women that Lil Wayne has been with. That should I keep going? Right? If Lil Wayne was a regular dude working a 9 to 5, also 12-hour shift, he wouldn't got the type of women that he has been attached to. But if you have money, hey, then that can happen. But yeah, don't go away to Thailand worrying about what the men got going on. Enjoy yourself, enjoy your vacation. If you got to sit up there and worry about what the men are doing, then clearly you want those men. You probably, what, are you disappointed they didn't want to choose you? There's no man over there you can go holler at? Yeah, you got to find you something to do, sis.
Well, that's not her disappointment. Her disappointment is seeing her real value on a global scale, because again, it's a competitive world. There's billions of people on this earth, and that's why I recommend global travel for a lot of men, because it's part of your mental development. Because you're dealing with an environment that reduces your value through feminism to prop women up, and you end up with guys developing a scarcity mindset and mentality. So it's like the shock that men get when they travel and really understand their value, because it's very difficult. See, America, as Americans and Western people, we have a lot of first world problems. So what happens is we tend to get spoiled with first world problems. You know what I mean? But when you deal with real survival, because again, many societies, especially in Asia and other places, are not government empowered. Africa, Asia, many other different places. So you rely heavily on family, the investments that you make, even in places like China, where real estate and gold and things like that, even though the real estate market is taking a hit, are more so with wealth. Like if you have land that you can, or property that you can rent out, like you go places like Thailand, you see they're pretty heavily into gold, owning real estate, owning farms, owning animals, buffaloes and all kinds of animals. And family is more knitted because the survival of that family is dependent upon the decisions that you make financially. And that's why the youngest people sometimes take care of the elders, because your kids may be your retirement, or if you haven't had land or accumulating enough things to farm or whatever else. So they don't really have time to be focusing on nonsense. And it's like I said, the decisions in men, they have to make pragmatic decisions with relationships, because they're not living in Western culture. They can't just be picking a dude because a dude arouses them, even though that does happen over there. They're looking at dudes like, oh, you know, I'm gonna go mess with Mukbuk over there because he excites me. Man, you get pregnant by some loser in a place like Thailand. Man, them Thai men ain't gonna be trying to get with no single moms. You're pretty much screwed. Don't do it in China. Let a woman get pregnant by some loser in China. Man, Western women don't understand how good they have it. Not only will you be Sheng you'll be an outcast in a place like China if you get pregnant by some loser. And again, so she's seeing all these women, all these men that get disrespected in the West, walking around in a place like Thailand, enjoying their life. And now she said to herself, she's realizing that feminism has lied to her. And she doesn't even understand the culture. She doesn't understand. She doesn't understand the way how culture works outside of the West. And she's like, man, feminism has lied. And that's the greatest shocker for women like this, is to see that how valuable the men is that she disrespect. And that's what a lot of things I do with my channel, try to get men to understand their value, and how their value is gaslit in the negative sense, where they start seeing themselves as less. And I have beef with people like Scott Galloway and all that stuff, because the way he talks about it is men need to be better, but better for worse, as opposed to being better for themselves. And that's the fundamental flaw in his logic, is asking that men be better for worse. That don't make any sense. Now, if you're saying men be better for themselves, I'm all on board. But what is this reward at the end of the rainbow? A woman like this, that's not a reward, that's a curse. You know, and it has nothing to do with her race. It has to do with her mentality and her mindset. Race doesn't matter. If your brain is that of a certain ideology and mindset, what are your uses to a man other than irritation? So she doesn't understand the culture outside of America and how competitive it is in the game of survival, especially you get into some of these Southeast Asian countries. If you're not born into a certain caste system or certain things, you have to survive and make good decisions. You know, there ain't no government coming to save you. It's your family and the decisions that your family has made over the years in terms of preserving wealth and taking care of the family. So she doesn't get that aspect of it. So that whole idea, so her bubble has been popped basically by traveling outside the West. And again, you know, many of them are going to have the same disappointment. So I've seen a lot of these videos pop up where the women are having these culture shocks. You know, I don't have no idea why they're out there, to be honest, other than to spy on the brothers or believe in some fantasies, some YouTube sold it. I can understand why men go to these types of places. Men leaving the West because the West is completely, you know, toxic towards men, and just get away from male-hating culture. Is the ultimate relief that a lot of men get, you know, to just relax. How do women say? To rest in their femininity. Men go outside this particular culture to rest in their masculinity. That's the way I look at it. They go to rest in their masculinity. So let's see what we have in the chat. Let's go check out who got read the chat. So salute D. What else we got in here? Gunmetal guy, salute to you, my brother. What else we got? How you say it, my brother? Yeah, it's my sheep. Salute to you, my brother. Prayer made partner 8439. Salute to you, my brothers. Well, Merry Christmas to all you brothers. You see Tyrone Brown 4107. Merry Christmas to you as well, my brother. Happy holidays to everybody else that's not into the religious aspect of it. I have to respect all cultures and all religions and all aspects of life. You know, we're going to start doing a little, modifying the content a little bit more for 2026, because we got to get more into solution-based things for men. You know, like I said, there's no trade-off. I mean, there's not really any solutions. There's really just trade-offs. And what is the best solutions in terms of for you as an individual? Because what's up, brother? Salute, man. Because that's all you have is really trade-offs in life. You just got to pick a lane that's best for you. And that's why, like, when you watch these, every man has to make a decision for his own life. Because, again, what happens inevitably is in certain spaces that without talking to an individual and understanding their mindset, understanding their position in life, understanding their needs, there's no general information or general knowledge, there's general pathway. There's certain things that are generally good. Taking care of your health, exercising, doing the things that are right for you, self-care and all that stuff. But generally, we can't really, there's no prescription. There's only trade-offs. And that's what a lot of men are discovering right now, is that you only have trade-offs that you can make going forward. And it's about understanding the self-preservation mindset. And that's why I introduce people like Ayn Rand. We deal with altruism because we're fighting back against a systematic programming. So the system is already programmed men to fail by keeping men into a mindset of the 1930s and 50s in a world that's ungrateful and doesn't serve men at all. You know, the men, you know, if you try to execute a 1930s mentality and mindset, you're dealing with modern women in a modern culture. You know, that's guaranteed to be a disaster. You know, it's guaranteed to be a disaster, because what you're doing is now that your mindset and mentality is based on a culture and a society and an environment that respects, honors, and values men for their sacrifices. This male-hating culture here, look at the type of things that they say in this type of culture. As you can see, this one right here, just hating on the brothers in Thailand. But even worse, you listen to the stuff they talk about with men, you know. Like, I'll give you an example, right? Imagine, like, hey, salute to you, what's up, man? Anton Moore, salute to you, my brother. Good to see you. Like, I'll give you an example of what we deal with in Western culture, right? And that's why, like, some of the clips I don't show. Like, for instance, right? Look at something like this. All right. So we have all these TikTokers. For example, right? Let me share screen. I'm sorry. If you look at TikTok and you see in this culture, right? We have them talking about men should be born in jail, start life in jail. They're talking about men should start life in jail, right? If you exist in a culture like this, where they're talking about, my hot take is that men should be start life in jail. So their hatred towards men, they want to incarcerate babies. So I give you an example. When I see dudes doing content about certain individuals in the travel space that have issues overseas, like everybody's part of a collective, what they don't understand is the mindset and mentality towards all of the men is that you're monsters. Men should start life in jail, or it's embarrassing to be in a relationship, or, you know, all these things, choosing the bear over the men. So there's no reasoning with women like this. Once you identify that they subscribe to a certain mindset mentality, all you can do is, you know, kill them with kindness and keep it moving. So if you get into a relationship with one of these types of women, you're destined to have a problem, because they already see life through a persecution mentality. They think of you as a monster already, right? You know, exactly. But, you know, like I said, but I'm saying, like, that's why you can't really reason with them. Once you identify them, the best thing is kick rocks. That's what you tell them. Kick rocks. So even for the guys in the space, I see a lot of guys are apologists. I see a lot of guys are like trying to set the record straight. Oh, I don't see what that guy did over there. I'm not like that guy over there. It doesn't matter. They already think you like that guy. Ain't not, you know, I like discipline. Who cares what they say? Look at what they're saying about you, period. They're talking about incarcerating male infants and babies. Look at them. This is how bad the culture got. They're talking about, you being born in jail. What type of reasoning can you have with people who has this type of mentality? You can't talk to them. You're not certainly not gonna have a relationship with any of them. I mean, some of them are very promiscuous, so recreational use happens a lot. But what are you going to build with somebody who thinks you should be born in jail, right? And when I see people who try to defend the actions of or try to do damage control over certain situations, who are you really appealing to? People that already think you're monsters. So what I do is I don't spread the virus. That's what I do. I don't spread the virus because you already know what they think about you. That's why you're there in the first place, right? For brothers in the travel space, why are you traveling? To enjoy your life on your own terms. And you got to get to a level of unapologetic masculinity where you just don't even care what the people that hate you think about you. And get to the point where you just don't even care. It's like, all right, your peaceful life is this. So what? So what? So what? So what? Why would you care about the opinions of people who do not like you? Who thinks that you're inherently evil just for the fact that you were born male? Why would you care about their opinions? I always ask the brothers. Or why would you offer them any value? Why would you offer them any sacrifice? Why would you try and negotiate anything with them when you could just replace them with people, with a person that has the right mindset mentality? Why do you have to negotiate or talk to or reason with any of them? He said, ever since we removed from God, love-based religion, to feminist relationships where everything is power dynamics, it's been messed up. That's very true. That's very true. I totally agree. But the foundation, the only thing that, again, once somebody's been indoctrinated with a certain mindset mentality, that's the way they move. And you see now with the economy and with inflation the way it is, we see a lot of these women are spinning the blocks. And we deal with covert feminism, women trying to hide the fact that they're feminists with their actions and their behaviors. Because again, their actions and their behaviors show. And it's very easy to trigger them and trigger that out of them because they were never raised to think that they ought to offer men any type of value. The idea of serving a man is like absolutely crazy to them, but they'll expect that same man to sacrifice his life, sacrifice his resources, take care of them, spend money on them, protect them. But the idea of serving that man, obeying, following his leadership and his guidance, is to them, it's like oppression and everything else. So those women should be just pushed to the side, in my opinion. Because why would you even get because what happens is you get into a situation with somebody who has the ideology or the mindset that men are oppressive, abusive, evil people, evil patriarchy, everything in that relationship is measured. So you're living with a person that has you on trial. Everything you say to her, she's going to gauge whether you're trying to, I can't let this man rule me or whatever else. So it becomes a battlefield in that house. Because like I said, the male lion cannot tame the hyena. Male lions don't get into relationships with hyenas in the wild, as you can see. So why would you think that you can get into a relationship, a male lion get in a relationship with a hyena? We're two different species. Because her ideology and her mindset is not to be under you. That's just not her nature. If anything, she's as a competitor with you. She competes against you. So you would not get into a relationship or try to be married to or long-term with your competitor. You're not going to have any peace in that house. And that's what the problem, the fundamental flaw of relationships today is that men get into relationship with the wrong species, unfortunately. And these types of individuals here, they're gone. They're gone. Their mindset's gone. Their mentality is gone. And you look at them. I mean, I can just click on one of them. Let me see if I can click on one of them.
Hey sluts, I just wanted to say, I think that I have like a quick hot take for the girlies, the gays, the days. If you're a man, get out of here. Anyways, I have this theory that the world would be safer, better, more productive if men started in jail. They started their life in jail and they earned their way out of it. They earned their privileges. I just feel like, there would be a lot less crime, there'd be a lot less hate, there'd be a lot less bombings. Yeah, so I don't know, it's just a quick hot take while I do my eyeliner. But let me know what you think. I think that would.
So men need to be born in jail.
All men should start their life in prison and prove their ways out. No, but you know what they do need? Like a year of court-mandated therapy and like 2 intro to feminism courses. Like, I know that first comment started off probably as like a little bit of a joke, but as we continue having this discourse, it's a comment I'm seeing more and more of. And while it's obviously not feasible, I've been thinking about it. And thinking about it concretely as we work towards things like prison abolition and liberation, I don't want to see a whole bunch of people criminalized like out of the womb, especially not a bunch of little Black boys. No, thank you. However, I have never, ever met a man who wouldn't benefit from therapy. Like, I've never met one. And yes, all people need access to mental health resources.
I mean, listen to the ideology and the mindset. Look at this one.
I know this might seem a little harsh, but men should have to start in jail and then earn their way to freedom. I know this might seem a little harsh, but men should have to start in jail and then earn their way to freedom. I know this might seem a little.
Imagine that, right?
I've been losing friends and finding peace.
Music on that one.
The saying that men should be put in jail when they're born and earn the right to get free, I completely agree with that. I have a story to back this. I can't believe I've never told this story, but I think it's just because I've tried to block it from my memory. Side note, I can't stop listening to the Drake Kendrick songs. Every time I listen, my mouth just like drops. Let me set the scene. This is my freshman year of high school. I was in English class and we had
back to the script. Sorry about that, folks. I don't know what happened. Hold on 1 second. Let me start again.
themselves. It's completely fine because at that stage in my life, I was very quiet into myself as well. Honestly, feel like for the most part of high school, I was actually pretty shy and not.
So all they use beating up on their gums, talking about men should start their life in jail.
I honestly think men should start in jail and work their way out based on the things that they say and the actions that they do. because it's actually like you can't go around like saying things like that. You can't say things like that out loud. Help, I was hooking up with this guy and mid-action his dog jumped on the bed and started licking my foot. I thought he was going to say licking something else, and I thought he said, don't mind him, he gets excited too. Cut the cameras.
Cut the cameras.
Hey, yeah. So you dealing with this situation?
I feel like men should really start their way in jail and then earn their.
So I recently seen a lot of talk with women saying that, you know, men should start out in prison and then prove their way out. And of course, men raging about it because everything is always about them. But if you think about it, these men are unhinged. And since men will not hold other men responsible for their behavior, like the video I just talked about, where this guy unalived.
So again, this is the type of ideology that men deal with in the West, mindsets and mentality. So you talking to women is a waste of your time. As soon as you identify that she has certain feminist ideologies, you know, you just leave them to their own devices and continue on with your life. Their opinions, their thoughts, their mindsets. Not all women think this way, first of all, but a large percent, nobody's challenging these women to knock it off. And this is what the Scott Galloways and all these men are not acknowledging. That with these types of conversations, and they worry about the young men, why would the young men want to be in relationships with these types of women? And then the women go over to places like Thailand and other places trying to shame the men, or women are talking about these passport bros and all these other men trying to get out of an environment that hates men. Why would anybody want to be in an environment that despises you? And that's the fundamental flaw in the logic and the thought process. So when I see, you know, even though there are some men that shouldn't even be traveling or doing anything because they haven't done the self-development, for most of the brothers, when I go overseas, I see most of the retired brothers, the retired military brothers and whatever else. But we keep looking at, we don't look at the, we always look at the effects, not the causation. So we have an environment where women have been radicalized and they have this deep-seated hatred towards men, manhood, masculinity, based on these radical ideologies. And when the brothers finally go somewhere and find some peace, they get harassed. They get harassed. So you don't want to deal with the dudes, but when the dudes leave you alone, now you got a problem with the dudes too leaving you alone. And this is why I'm so much against this old adage of traditional masculinity in a culture and environment that has evolved not to respect or value men. So you can't play by the same rules of the past. And that's why I talk about adaptation so much on my channel, and men, you know, updating their software to deal with the current environment that we live in. Because if you go operating based on the old system, imagine you put your life on the line based on the old system for a woman who believes that you should have been born in jail. Are you going to give up your seat on a train for a woman that believes you should be born in jail? You're going to risk your life for somebody who believes you should be born in jail? And that's what guys got to start thinking like that. And that's why I introduced Ayn Rand, and I talk about dealing with altruism and how men see themselves and value their lives. So those things are a part of, you know, our own adjustment to, you know, an environment like this, because this is the way they think. This is their mindset. This is their mentality. You know, and even when they're challenged.
You think men should start off in jail, and I think women need hobbies?
Earn their way out. Yeah. I think men should
Can
start
you-
off in jail, prove their way into
Sounds a little-
society, that they're good people. We can release them.
That
and
sounds a little
then-
man-hating, don't you think?
I think there's a lot of scary men out there.
Are you talking about like criminal men?
Abusive.
Yeah, I think there's like a lot of abusive men, you know, I mean, when it comes to like, you know,
Have you
girls,
had
like, I
personal
think about-
experience with abusive men?
No, I think there's just like a lot of bad men in the
Very-
world.
What percentage would you attribute to?
I think not just that. I think there's a lot of manipulative men. I think there are bad men. Like I think there's more bad men than there are bad women. I
There's
think that some
more
men should start off in jail and just, prove that they're good,
Is that facetious or are you serious about that?
Okay, I just said there's more bad men than there are bad women. I think men should start off in jail,
What evidence?
prove that they're good men, and then they can be, released into society. And I think women
Jesus Christ,
should.
That's like one of the most sexist, man-hating, misandrous things.
That's not
I've
true.
ever heard.
No, I probably get along with men more than I get along with women.
That's
and I
fine,
think
but
men
your
would
position
probably
is still
agree that there's
pretty
probably
objectionable.
worse men than there are women.
You think men should start off in jail, and I think women need hobbies?
On their way out.
Right. So, this is the time. He said he was, hey, what's up, my brother? Yeah, what's up, man? Hey. Christopher Cooper, 104, salute to you, my brother. But, again, this is the mindset. But she's probably that one's getting pounded out by a whole bunch of men. You know that, right? So, I mean, it's kind of like what she's saying. You always got to listen to what women do too. You know what I mean? She's saying that. But again, she's saying this because this is something that's popular on TikTok. What she does, obviously she's probably got the OnlyFans thing and she's probably doing the sugar daddy stuff. And she's probably renting out her femininity to men for a price. So anyhow, I'm not gonna go too much into that. We know what's happening with that situation. But gentlemen, make sure you hit the like button, man. If you want to support the channel, you please go ahead and do so. And like I said, happy holidays, Merry Christmas to you all, brothers. I really didn't want to get too much into the detail of the conversation, but sometimes it's very hard to articulate all of your thoughts in a 10-minute video, and even answer questions. So, I figured I'll show up live on, to answer the brother's question on a Christmas holiday, because I really haven't do the lives anymore because I really want to focus mostly on interviews now too. Like, obviously like guys like, that I would like to interview, like Dr. Ryan Terabin. I definitely would like to interview my brother CGA and some of these other individuals that I actually respect, because one of the things about certain content creators is I have to believe that person actually offers value to men and offers fair and balanced content. Some of these content creators, some of them I don't respect. They're grifters or they give men bad advice, and they're operating on a system that's flawed mentally. And that's what you know what I mean? So Merry Christmas, my brother, Project John, 1517. So I won't even, or even you get some of the guys, I always talk about some of the guys who pretend that they have the best interests of men, like the Scott Galloway type mentality, but realistically, they're really out here on some male feminist nonsense, because what they don't talk about, they talk about men being better, but being better for what? Now, if you talk about being better for yourself, I'm all on board. You know what I mean? But when you start talking about, this being better is going to get you XYZ outcome, well, yes and no. Depends on what your choices are. You still have to make smart choices. You understand what I'm saying? You still have to make choices. And then you have to also make smart choices in terms of defending yourself against the culture that we currently live in, because that's always going to be in your house. I mean, this thing right here is a distraction, and it's constantly, putting things into your house, even that you're not aware of. You might be out there working one day and come home and be like, what are you talking about? You're thinking everything is okay. That person then watched 5 videos on this, and, they're just coming at you with some nonsense. And you're like, what are you talking about? But they've watched 100 TikTok videos that day, or they've been on Facebook listening to Facebook reels or Instagram reels, and somebody put some ideas in their head, and now they want to challenge, they want to bring those thoughts and those opinions to you. So, but anyhow, that's just the way it is. I mean, it's unfortunate, but that's just the way it is with the culture and the way things are. So, with that being said, if you gentlemen don't have any questions, I'll get on out of here. I'll give you a few minutes to decide what questions you want to ask on this beautiful Christmas morning. What's up, my brother Dan? Dan Sparks. Salute to you, my brother. Merry Christmas to you, man. To you and the family, man. Yeah. That's my brother Dan over there, man. Of course, good peoples, man. Now, there's one brother that's always, stayed consistent, man. When I went to Thailand, took care of me, man, looked out for me, met the same person you see online is the same person you meet in person with Dan. And a lot, that's consistency right there. Always willing to help, looks out for the brothers, positive brother, positive mindset. You know what I'm saying? A lot of good information that I learned from Dan. Very smart brother, another retired brother. He said just walked in from a few drinks with a visiting brother from the DMV. Yeah, salute, man. See, Dan will give you the game too. You go to Thailand, he gives you the game, man. Again, a lot more brothers are going to be doing the global travel thing, just getting out of the culture. Again, sometimes you just got to take a mental break. Get away from things, move around. And I was just showing the video earlier, Dan, about a lot of these matriarchal women that have been traveling to Thailand lately. Some of them spying on the brothers, some of them following the dream, and some of them legitimately out there for better quality of life, cheaper living. Exactly. I am. Hey, salute to you, my brother, man, as a young man. Of course. I got you, brother. I know what you're talking about. Yeah. And yeah, no problem, young brother. I mean, again, like I said, me, guys like Dan, we're always willing to pass the game down, because what I think happens in this culture, and I have boys. I have 2 boys. And Dan has 2 boys. So we understand, like, we're there in our boys' lives. So we're able to pass down that masculinity, pass down that self-preservation mindset, build their self-esteem. So what happens inevitably is if you get your self-esteem stepped on every day, and you start getting, you're in an environment that's constantly propping up women and kicking men in the back, you're going to feel a certain way about yourself. He said, he told me a phrase years ago. I wonder which one is that. I'm saying I've said a few of them. But with the boys, they're constantly seeing women propped up, and they're getting beaten over the head. Obama talking about they need to have gay friends, and Scott Galloway telling them that they need to be this and be that, many times to acquire nothing more than a ran through girl. And I'm like, yo, come on, Scott. What about the women? Don't women have to be better? So you're saying that one gender gets to, what's the relationship welfare program Scott Galloway trying to run? Like most men, I can't stand Scott Galloway. Another one of these liberal-minded feminists, or corporate planks that because like only the men have to be better, Scott. And that's something I challenge, and I find to be absolutely disturbing. It's like, what the hell? So it's crazy. I was playing that clip earlier, Dan, with that individual spying on the brothers down there in Pattaya, Thailand, right? Like, leave them dudes alone, man. Like, what, imagine the women telling the dudes, we don't want you. But the dude, I'm going to show you that clip again, Dan. I'm sorry for you brothers who play it. I'll show you that clip, Dan. Okay? It's Philip Scott did this clip, right? Imagine, right? Where are we at? So I showed that clip, Dan. Imagine, right? The disrespect. So imagine this. You say a woman says she doesn't want the men in the West, telling them they should be born in jail, they're losers, they're this and that, or only certain men are deserving of this. And you go all the way to Thailand, track these men down who are minding their business to insult them, the same men that you say you don't want. And I showed this clip earlier in the live. I don't know when you see it or not, Dan. I'm like,
The men are traveling to Thailand and they are out there, you know, doing their thing, right? They messing with women, whatever. Well, you got this black woman that decides to go to Thailand, and I don't know why some of these women are showing up in these places where these men are going, but let's go ahead and check that out.
Let me tell y'all, I be seeing my brothers out here getting themselves some of these Thai girls, honey. Well, they all out here getting the Thai girls. But you can tell it's lopsided. And what I mean by lopsided, you can tell those girls be too pretty for the men that they be with. Black or white. I be looking like, girl, what you going on? But I get it though, you know. But you do see beautiful couples here too. But I be looking like y'all came all the way out here to get yourself a Thai girl, which is fine because the Thai girls are beautiful. But it just be looking so weird because some of these girls be so beautiful and the guys be like monsters. Like they be looking like straight Fat Albert and Freddy Krueger mixed together, and they be having this supermodel looking Thai girl. I'd be like, girl, ain't that much money in the world. But maybe it is. Maybe it's true love. I ain't here to judge. You know, and if it wasn't true love, maybe it developed into true love. They say you learn to love people. Maybe some of the American men come out here and treat these women good, but it ain't even just Americans. The white guys, there's Australians, Russians, people from Singapore, you know, Canadians.
but listen to that ideology. Listen to that mindset. Listen to the audacity and the arrogance. And like, yeah, you're right, Dan. You know, he said, fortunately, Bangkok is a huge city and rarely run into black women. Yeah, I see them on. I only see it even when I was in Bangkok. I didn't see too much of them. You know, hey, salute to my brother King J 115. You know, salute to you, my brother. I appreciate it. He said the white chick is way off base. Yeah, I mean, like. They make these unnecessary content. Like, yeah, okay, gotcha. Like she's out there, like she's going through a culture shock, right? Because that's when somebody sees that they're not valuable. And they just can't, they know they cannot compete in that environment. You know, I know like a lot of like people don't think that Pattaya is just the nightlife in the red light district, but there's a lot of things going on in Pattaya, especially on the dark side where people actually live. There's families, there's businesses. People go there, they go to Koh Lan, they go there for shows and festivals and all that stuff like that. Yeah, it's one of the most visited places in the world for men in terms of the nightlife. But there's a lot going on in Pattaya. So I'm not even going to say why she's there, but you're there, and the only thing you can think about is worrying about what the men are doing. She didn't just like, okay, I'm out here and I'm over here. I went over to Koh Lan Island. I'm looking at the beautiful waters of the beach. You know, it's like, what the hell? You know? And again, that's the mindset, the mentality of the culture, you know? Even when dudes leave them alone, they follow the dudes to harass them, which makes absolutely no sense. That's the ultimate hater right there. You, when they're left alone, they track the dudes down. Even with like these content creators and all these other worried about what, man, look here, let me explain. Like that, well, don't you talk to passport bro? Talk about, man, I don't care about no conversation about no passport bros or anybody else. This is a free world. Like I'm not gay, so why would I care what another man does with his money and his wallet? If another man goes to some foreign country and purchases him some box or whatever the hell he does, it ain't none of my damn business. I'm not the D police and I'm not a homosexual. So when I care what a guy is tricking or whatever else in another country, they trick right here in America. In fact, you can make an argument that the dating and relationship market here is pure prostitution. So why would I care about what all the box being sold here every day around America? Why would I care about OnlyFans and dudes buying box all over the place? Why would I care about what goes on in Pattaya, Thailand, or Bangkok, or some other places around the world in terms of men, what they're doing with their money and their resources that they worked for? Remember, they work for that money that they're spending. They work for that money. So why are you so concerned about what they're doing with their money and their resources that they work for? You know, only thing I address with men is when dudes spread that simp culture, like a Boyce Watkins or something like that. You know, yeah, I mean, it's well, yeah, absolutely. In the West, man, dating is tricky. Because if they were talking about, Dr. Orion Taraban did an excellent series when he talks about the lady and the prostitutes. I put it in my community page, check it out. Because dating is basically prostitution. Because if it was really about marriage, they'd be doing courting. And there would be meeting, families would be meeting, they'd be sitting down. No sex would be discussed. It would just be about families joining with other families. But the way how dating is designed in the West, or well, it should be courting if they was talking about marriage, but it's really about prostitution. And I'm starting to believe, and it sounds sad to say this, that nowadays, especially with these tradcon wives and these covert feminists, I'm starting to believe that prostitutes are the most honest women now. Whores, prostitutes, bar girls, whatever. At least they ain't lying. They ain't trying to sell fake virtue. I'm starting to believe that the working women are the most honest. As opposed to dealing with some woman that is basically a sex worker disguising as herself as a good woman. Because that's basically what they're in. And it's a funny, like I said, I'm glad Dr. Ryan Taraban addressed this issue. You know, it's funny. Let me go. I'm going to play that video, Dan. You know what? Let me see if I can find it. And salute to Dr. Ryan Taraban. If you guys haven't watched it, I just want to put it in the record here. You know what I mean? Let me switch channels because we get to one that has no... you know, I have a channel that you don't want any commercials. And I'm glad Dr. Taraban did this. Hopefully he doesn't have any comment. So I'm glad Dr. Ryan Taraban addressed this issue. And what we're dealing with right here, and he talks about it. It was a very powerful video. Salute to Dr. Ryan Taraban. But guys, make sure you subscribe to Psych Hacks. Obviously, copy, put it in there, paste. This video here by Dr. Ryan Taraband really highlights the reality which men are dealing with, especially when you talk about.
In Taraband, and this is Psych Hacks, Better Living Through Psychology. And the topic of today's short talk is modern women. This is the second part of a longer discussion on where all the gentlemen have gone. So if you haven't already, please check out the first installment, Death of the Lady, before continuing. Let's get to it. As previously discussed, there have historically been two categories of women in the sexual marketplace: ladies and prostitutes. The main difference between a lady and a prostitute was that a lady did not have sex prior to marriage. And given the very negative potential consequences for an unwed mother, there were far more ladies than prostitutes in the sexual marketplace for a long time. Women like sex just as much as men do. But the fear of this terrible outcome, in conjunction with a familial or social structure that supported them in their ability to transact at a higher price point, meaning that ladies were much more likely to come from upper class families, kept many women from succumbing to temptation. And her first line of defense was taking offense at, let's say, ungentlemanly propositions. Consider, for instance, how a lady of the 19th century might respond to a proposal based on a successful modern courtship. Let's see. What's a good outcome by today's standards? How about this? The man plans a date and puts some effort into the experience. He picks her up, takes her out to dinner. Over the meal, he puts her at ease. He makes her laugh, asks her questions, tries to understand their shared values. He wants a relationship and seems to care about the woman's feelings. He's clearly attracted to her, but he doesn't want to move too fast. So they go on 1 date, 2 dates, 3 dates. Finally, at the end of the 3rd date, he invites her in for a cup of tea, and the two give in to their desires and sleep together. So what's the point? My point is, exactly. Share this summary with most modern women, and this sounds unproblematic, possibly even desirable. They probably wouldn't feel anything's wrong here. However, if you were to share this summary with a 19th century lady, you'd end up getting slapped. You think the price of my womanhood is 3 dates? Who do you think you're talking to? How dare you insult my virtue like this? Go find yourself a good time girl in the red light district if that's what you're looking for. And she'd kind of be justified in this response because you were talking to a lady as if she were a prostitute, in that you were expecting.
All right, guys, I just want to stop for a second. Fair use. And then again, that's why most dating today is prostitution.
The possibility of sex in advance of a lifetime commitment of provision. After all, the man in the summary was not willing to exchange his commitment up front for her sexual opportunity, which resulted in an insultingly low bid for her virtue. But I don't think you'd find many modern women who saw anything all that problematic in this summarized process. And any modern woman who did act that way is probably a raging hypocrite, because chances are she's not a virgin, which means that she has already been willing to transact her sexual opportunity without a lifetime of commitment and provision. And that means, despite any protestations to the contrary, at least according to the traditional definition, that she is no longer a lady. Women today use the word lady not to signify that they actually put sex on the other side of marriage, but to suggest that they have a relatively low body count, and that, after all, the cost of her sexual opportunity isn't cheap. Bud. However, as we've already agreed, it's not really possible to act in spite of the behavioral restrictions that define a group and still claim group membership. These women have exchanged their sexual opportunity outside of marriage and have received resources in return. These resources probably weren't cold hard cash, but they were resources nonetheless. Dinner and drinks, the thrill of passionate connection, the alleviation of boredom or loneliness, or literally dozens of other possibilities. Ladies do not engage in casual sex. I can't say it any more directly than this. Introducing my innovative first novel, Starry Night. Step into the world of painter Vincent van Gogh. Genius, sinner, prophet.
So basically, and I agree with the doctor. Again, they bought into feminism, sexual liberation. That was their choice. They fought for it. And that's what it is. Ladies, you can't have it both ways. But hey, look, hey, it is what it is. But that's why when guys if they trap you into this 1930s mentality and mindset, you're basically getting a raw deal. Because if they really cared about relationships or marriages, they would transact sex after marriage, not before. So, holding to this traditional mindset is ridiculous in 2025, in 2026.
Right. Order your copy today. The links are in the description. So what are we to think? Well, if it looks like a duck, it walks like a duck, it quacks like a duck. Modern women exchange their sexual opportunity outside of marriage, and they often proudly discuss their low body counts. They do this because they believe that their low number means that they're not prostitutes, like some sluts out there. But that's kind of like a murderer denying he's a serial killer because he's only killed like 5 or 6 times. You want a serial killer? Go talk to Stalin or Mao. I'm practically a law-abiding citizen in comparison. And that, of course, is absurd. I doubt the police would be convinced. You're either a murderer because you killed someone, or you're not. And it would be strange and potentially infuriating to talk to someone who has killed repeatedly, but who rejects the appropriate label. All this is to say that there are functionally no ladies left in the contemporary sexual marketplace. According to my research, only 3% of people who get married are virgins. And that percentage includes both men and women. And as I discussed in my episode, Body Count, even the absence of penetrative intercourse does not guarantee purity or inexperience. So I would argue that fewer than 1 in 100 women can consider themselves ladies under the old definition, in the sense that they have refused to transact sexual experiences outside of that level of commitment. This means the lady is functionally extinct. She does not exist anymore. This isn't necessarily a problem. Everything has its pros and cons, but it does render the gentleman obsolete. There is no need for that social fiction without its counterpart. Right. Like, there is no reason for a man to behave like a gentleman with a prostitute. That's kind of the whole selling point. That would be ridiculous at best and wasteful and dangerous at worst. So that's the answer to the question that began this series. Where are all the gentlemen? They disappeared when the lady went extinct. And it wasn't men who killed her. Women have proudly fought tooth and nail to escape the social restrictions that define that identity over the past 60 years. So what's the problem? Well, the problem is that modern women want the best of both worlds. They want the social freedom of the prostitute and the respectability of the lady. And that just doesn't make sense.
That's the problem, fundamentally. You want the social freedom of the prostitute and the respectability of the lady. And that's where the dating relationship market went to trash. Because why would men pay a higher price when women have granted access to their bodies to multiple men who've paid less prior? And that's the fundamental breakdown. Let us play on.
Like, one person can't be both a lady and a prostitute at the same time. if these designations are to have any meaning whatsoever, they need to be grounded in objective phenomena. And while it's always kind of easy for a lady to become a prostitute, it's very, very difficult for a prostitute to become a lady. It is possible, like the Empress Wu, who started out as a concubine in Chinese history, but it is much more difficult than the opposite. So let's be real. The standard template for a woman's behavior in the sexual marketplace today is to engage in casual sex without commitment through their 20s and then settle down into marriage around 30. That is, they want to enjoy the social freedom of a prostitute for 10 to 15 years, and then they want the respectability of a lady for the rest of their lives. And unfortunately, that doesn't make sense to men. In fact, this is exacerbated even further by recent dating trends. The rise of soft life girls and women who say reject coffee dates and expect greater effort from men drive this point home. These women do not complain that men are expecting sex without marriage. They complain that men are being stingy with their resources.
Exactly.
Does this sound like a lady who is upset she is being treated like a prostitute? Or like a prostitute who is clamoring for a raise? Let's do some math. Dinner for two at a high-end restaurant, $200. Taxis there and back, $60. After dinner drinks, $80. That comes to around $350 out of pocket. So when women today insist that they only consent to dates where they are wined and dined, they think they are communicating that they are high-value ladies who know their worth, when in reality, they are advertising that their sexual opportunity costs $350, which is actually on the low end when it comes to escorts in most major Western cities. On some level, this makes these women both unsuccessful ladies and unsuccessful prostitutes. They're unsuccessful ladies because a lady would not transact her sexual opportunity outside of commitment, and they're unsuccessful prostitutes because, well, the successful ones charge more. And that's where we are in today's day and age. A lady is a woman with a relatively low body count, which means that she's only transacted her sexual opportunity outside of commitment a few times, who expects greater upfront resource expenditure in the courtship process. And I think it's fair to say that this is so far from the original definition of the word lady that we probably shouldn't keep using it, though the residual connotations are certainly beneficial to the women who have appropriated it. And this isn't likely to change anytime soon. Why? Because a woman who tries to put sex on the other side of commitment today is going to be priced out of the sexual marketplace, especially if she is not a young virgin.
Exactly. And that's the funny thing too about it, is that not only are we're seeing the older women trying to transact marriage. They've had kids, they've been married before, they've experienced life, some of them have been, and it's almost insulting. Really. I mean, it's like, what are you doing? Who's going to pay the price, MSRP, which is marriage, in many instances for some of these women? And they tend to have men pay an exorbitant amount of the bills in the household. They've been feminists all their life, so they can keep their money and rest in their quote unquote femininity and have you pay for things when they've lived their life already. So they're looking for a cleanup man and a sucker simp. And if they say, well, all right, which is a noble thing, I'm going to withhold this pre-owned until after marriage. Well, good luck with that. Let's continue on.
This is because she'd be making her sexual opportunities significantly more expensive relative to her intrasexual competition. And people, men and women, don't pay more than they need to for any given good. So such a woman would frankly have to be so extraordinary in so many other respects that such a strategy would be inaccessible to most women by definition. And besides, women have shown no indication that they want to go back to the way things were. The general feeling here is that women should be able to do whatever they want, whenever they want, however they want, with whomever they want, etc. The general understanding is that marriage is a convention that was based on patriarchal repression of women. They didn't get anything good out of that, being ladies. And any convention that restricts modern women's permissiveness is going to be perceived as controlling and repressive. And it's like, fair enough. I also love my freedom a lot. So I can understand why women would be loath to dispense with theirs. Nor am I arguing to go back to the way things were. They can't. The genie doesn't.
So, again, this proves that point in general. And it is. I just wanted to get this clip in there for the record. Salute to Dr. Orion Turban. Is one of the individuals I would like to do an interview with and talk with. I know my brother, Kosher Conditioner, has some interviews coming up. One of the people he mentioned is Dr. Helen Smith. You know, she's wrote the book Men on Strike. And there's so many different people that I would like to have a conversation with. My brother CGA, salute to him. He does quite a bit of, more realistic, honest men's content, because we have a lot of individuals in these spaces that don't really provide men with good value, especially the dudes in this. Most of the dudes in those pickup artists game community, most of them are full of shit. Leveraging options is really the power move for today, and self-esteem, self-development, and discipline. So a lot of those guys, you got to build yourself a hard bark in this environment where you can resist a lot of the nonsense that goes on and a lot of self-destructive programming or the altruism that exists in the current environment. But you definitely need leverage and options in life in order to move around and live life on your own terms, because it costs money to travel, it costs money to live the quality of life for you, not for women, for you. That's what I talk about on this channel a lot. With that being said, this is beautiful Christmas Day. Merry Christmas to you guys. I just want to come in here real quick and make myself available. But I'm going to get out of here for the day. Appreciate you guys. Hit the like button. Support the channel if you want. I'm out of here. Merry Christmas. Enjoy the rest of your day. I'm about to go get some food. Maybe I'll take a walk today. I got to get some steps in because I know it's going to be a lot of challenges today. I don't do any dieting on Christmas, but I've fasted for a while now, so it's almost midday. So I've had how many hours have I fasted? I think almost 16 hours. I do like intermittent fasting, 16-8. So I've passed the threshold. Peace and blessings to you guys. Enjoy your Christmas. Merry Christmas to you, brothers. Appreciate your support.